everyone. Thank you for being here today. And I am incredibly honoured and happy to be with you all. My name is Zakia Moulaoui, and I am the founder of a social enterprise called Invisible Cities. I'm about to tell you a little bit more about who we are, what we do, and how we use the power of tourism to do things a little bit differently. To start off, Invisible Cities is a social enterprise, and I will tell you a little bit more about what that means in a minute. And what we do is simple. We train people who have experienced homelessness to become walking tour guides of their own city. And we offer alternative walking tours to tourists and locals alike. But I thought it was appropriate to take it back to the very start and to the birth of Invisible Cities. The idea for the business, for the social enterprise, started when I started to travel myself. I was very lucky in my early 20s to be working for an international charity called the Homeless World Cup Foundation. Some of you may know about it because it exists in loads of different countries around the world. And what it does is use the power of football, of street soccer, to support people who are experiencing homelessness. Now, as someone who's not a football fan and who's not a big sports fan in general, I had a really hard time understanding how football could support anybody. But actually, if you think about maybe the relationship that you build when you're part of a team, but also the physical health that you improve on, the mental health that you improve on, the confidence that you get when you score a goal. The Homeless World Cup is all about using all of this to be able to support people out of homelessness. And a big part of my role at the time was to travel, and I would go from country to country to listen to people's stories and to understand how they had become homeless and how football was supporting them out of homelessness. And it was at that time that I realized that everybody had a different story, everybody had a different example of what homelessness meant to them. Obviously, it's not the same being homeless in the UK, where I'm based, than in Russia, than in Mexico or Indonesia. But at the end of the day, everybody was different, but everybody felt the same. They felt that there was a big stigma associated with homelessness. There was loads of prejudices and loads of fake ideas around how they had become homeless, maybe judgment, that sometimes it was their fault for not working hard enough, for not being good enough, and that they felt a bit helpless and hopeless. So it's very much during my time at the Homeless World Cup that I realised that I wanted to do something about that stigma so we could break it down. Because before starting working in an organisation that supported homeless people, maybe that was my idea of what a homeless person looked like. Somebody that I could see on the streets, begging for money, probably a man, with a hat on. It never occurred to me, that women are also homeless, children are also homeless, but also that this is not the picture that represents everyone. And so at Invisible Cities, what we do is break down that stereotypes and talk about all the various different scenarios that exist around homelessness. So I'm based here in Edinburgh in Scotland, where I started in 2016, and since then we have seen a very big growth. So we've expanded to other cities such as Glasgow, but also Manchester, York and Cardiff in Wales, where we were supposed to launch in April this year, but due to the global pandemic haven't been able to do so. So we're hoping to launch in Wales in next April 2021. And when I started in 2016, what I wanted to do was very simple. I just wanted to recruit one person, because I thought if I can train one person to become a guide, one person to become the picture of what it is that we want to do, then I can convince others to come on board and to be able to support us with what we were doing. So I was lucky to find 4 different people who accepted to be on our training course, on the training course that I designed at the time. And together we redesigned it completely. So our training course is about confidence building, is about public speaking, it's about history, it's about body language, all the things that you need to do or you need to be a great tour guide. But it's also about customer service, and it's also about humor, and it's also about politeness, and it's also about all the things that you want to achieve, or all the things that you want to convey through your tour. Because all the tours are designed by our guides themselves. They choose the stories that they focus on, they choose the themes that they focus on, and that is because everybody shares a little bit about their own story as part of it. And it wasn't for me or for anyone else to tell them what to do with it. So it was very important that they chose in their own words what they wanted to talk about. And in 4 short years, we are super proud to say that we garnered a lot of the tourism industry recognition. And last week actually, we were recognized as best community tour in the world by Lonely Planet, which is a massive honor and a very, very exciting thing for our little company to be receiving. And I really believe that that's because the tours always incorporate 3 different things. Entertainment is interesting. You're coming into a city like Edinburgh and you're discovering how beautiful, how vibrant, and how historical the city is. But you're also listening to personal stories, and you're also discovering local places. So as a conscious traveler that you may be, or as somebody who wants to see things differently, you always find something that's right for you. And wherever you're going on our tour, whether it's Glasgow, whether it's Manchester, Edinburgh, or York, you always find a mix of these 3 different things that make them award-winning. And like I said before, we are a social enterprise. So you may not be familiar with the term, and that's totally okay. A social enterprise is a hybrid between a charity and a business. So we are a business, but we are not for profit. So which means we operate as a tour operator. We sell tickets, we have partners, we employ people, we pay our guides, we sell merchandise, but we are committed to being a not-for-profit. So we use the money generated by the tours to grow the organization, to grow the guides, and we use part of that money to maybe put people on courses if that's what they want to do, to sometimes pay for travel fares when they want to be reunited with family members, sometimes to buy equipment if they want to do, photography, if they want to do life drawing, no matter where their passions are, then we will support them in developing those. So we use the money generated from the tours to be able to do that. And remember the picture that I showed you of the homeless man on the street. What we do is break down that stigma and show that this person here, Paul, can also represent homelessness, because he was homeless in his life for a lot of different reasons and a lot of different times. And he talks about how, he can represent a city like Edinburgh. He is an award-winning tour guide. He goes on the television all the time to talk about his story, but he also is the face of homelessness. And because that face can be him, or it can be me, or it can be, anyone. And I think that's the power that we hold, is to be able to tell true stories with true people around true topics that sometimes are hard-hitting, because it's quite difficult to talk about issues such as homelessness. But at the same time, we do it in a way that I believe is educational and is thought-provoking. We work with tourists and locals, with educational groups, with tour operators, with cruise liners, with loads of different people who travel in loads of different ways. Sometimes solo travelers, sometimes families, sometimes big corporations who are wanting to do something for the day all together, some team bonding activities. and 100% of the time we receive raving reviews, 5-star reviews for all the work that we do. Last year alone, we welcomed about 5,000 guests on our tours, and we're really proud of all the hard work that the guides put into the tours and of the reviews that the guests leave us, because we believe that the impact that we can have on customers and the fact that we can show them a city in a different way is also part of who we are and why we exist. One thing I thought I would mention today, which is a great topic of conversation and one I love to talk about, is partnerships and collaborations. We are a very small organisation, so it's myself plus 4 other incredible women, and we have a fleet of about 13 guides across the UK, and like I mentioned, 5,000 customers. But we can never achieve anything on our own. And so we're very keen to be working in collaboration with others. And I just took 3 different examples here to show you the power of collaboration and what it means to us. So GeoTourist are great friends of ours. They're a no-geo guidebook, an app that you can use to discover cities at your own pace, in your own time, and that you can, use to follow a story and discover a place. And together we developed one around Edinburgh and places that when you spend money with them, use that money in a different way. So other social enterprises, but also local makers and local storytellers. So the app, that tour on the app was designed so you would, as a visitor, spend your money a little bit differently. The Kimpton is a luxury hotel that we work with. So as a tour operator, there's nothing new here. We sell tickets in the hotel. The staff and the concierge sell tickets on our behalf, but they also support us with training. They also support us with a Christmas campaign. Homelessness is a complex issue, and especially around December time, Christmas time, it can be a very difficult, dark thing to find yourself in. So we are bringing Christmas cheer to people by delivering presents, and this year they're supporting us in doing that. And that means, collecting things on our behalf, but also volunteering little hands to be able to wrap different presents. And finally, Urban Union, which is a big development company. So, we're working with them in Glasgow to develop a tour of an area of Glasgow that they're working in. And that isn't a touristic area at all. It's more of a residential, forgotten area. So together we want to regenerate that and showcase that every part of a city has a story to tell. Like I said before, breaking down stereotype also needs to happen via mainstream media. We are people with a powerful story to tell, but we also cannot tell that story on our own. So in 2018 and 19, we created a very powerful guerrilla marketing campaign by having posters such as this one across all our different cities. And they were aimed at just raising the question of how people react when they see somebody on the streets. And we thought they would garner attention, but actually it went viral pretty quickly through a lot of different media outlets, and reached a little under 1.5 million views, across everything. So, I only took this example here to show you the power that a story can have, and that by working in innovative, different ways, sometimes we can reach big results. We also do a lot of work in schools with younger audiences, so with young travellers, whether it's organised travel or school trips, because for us it's important to educate the little ones around homelessness and how people become homeless and how they get out of homelessness. And I think one of the stereotypes that exist sometimes is that homeless people are not educated. So I really love this picture because Angus and I often go into schools together and talk about the level of educations that we have. So I am the CEO of an award-winning organisation, and he is an award-winning guide, but also someone who has been affected by homelessness, and he has a lot more degrees than me. And he speaks about 7 languages when I can, When I'm actually from the south of France, so sometimes you can listen to that through my accent. So, you know, we talk about all the things that we think we know about someone else, but actually are not true. And together we make a great duo as at showcasing that actually, you know, the one who holds more degrees and the one who speaks more languages is actually him. And he is passionate about showcasing that. You know, he is a great academic, he's passionate about languages, and he wants people to realize that, you know, there isn't only just one side to any one person. And finally, one of the things that we do by trying to be as inclusive as we can is we organize community events. And that is because we realize that training isn't for everybody. You know, some people are still in situations of homelessness. And by that, I mean that they may still be sleeping rough on the streets. And that's not the best position to be when you want to think about your future, when you want to think about training. So before people start training with us, we invite them to events such as this one, which is called the Street Barber in Edinburgh. And what we do is we give haircuts and shaves and free toiletries, tea and coffee and cake from the streets, and just have a conversation and a great event for the day. We organise those once a month, and I believe they bring dignity to people, even if it's just for that one day. And again, we pay for all of this thanks to the sales of our tours. So we reinvest the money into our local communities. Now, I wouldn't give you an honest picture of Invisible Cities, of our social enterprise, if I also didn't speak about the challenges that we face. It can be quite difficult working with people who have complex issues. People have lived in extreme poverty, have experienced trauma or addiction or poor mental health, and it means it's quite difficult to manage the team sometimes, or that, you know, we end up doing things as a social enterprise that we would never do in other regular mainstream businesses. So one week is never the same. And this week, for example, I delivered a bed to one of our trainees because I realized that he didn't have a bed in his own flat, and was too ashamed to tell us about this. So we got him a double bed. You know, it could be about delivering food to people. It could be going to medical appointments with people. You know, it is very complex, and it is sometimes very social work orientated, but it is also very rewarding, because when you see the confidence that people have, when you see the skills that they gain, and the customers that they meet, then it makes it all worth it. I don't know if you can see the quote quite well here, but it actually says, "Love is the only language I speak fluently." And that's how I always want to finish presentations, because ultimately what Invisible Cities does is put people first, put people at the core of everything we do and everything we are, because we believe that from a place of honesty and of wanting to share and educate people, we can have hard-hitting conversations. You know, it's never easy to talk about topics such as, you know, poverty, addiction, homelessness, being on the streets, and sometimes it can be dirty, sometimes it can be a bit scary, you know, but we talk about all these things always with the purpose of educating, always with the purpose of talking and of having conversations and of breaking down stigma. So I really believe that tourism has the power to do all these things. Tours and guides have the power to create very powerful conversations. And I'm happy to take any questions that you may have, and to, you know, whether it's about our business, our ways of doing it, or it's about, you know, some of your own ideas. So thank you so much for listening.